So this is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 78. It's been a while, but we're back, and we have a lot of firepower lined up for everybody who's listening. So you guys all know my name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, founder and the director of the Todd Capital Investment Club. That club has 300 members and counting, always getting increase. Everybody wants to join that club. And what's really cool about what we've been doing is I tell people, like, you get started and you get fancy. And I guess the testimony of the investment clubs that we started, and we were just pulling it together. We had people sending in money through all these different forms, PayPal, Venmo, this. We were tracking on a spreadsheet. And we did all that for like a year. And then now we have an app that does it all for us. So people log in, they get their portal. It's just like social media. And so we brought in 200 members just doing touch and go, trying to fill out, see if it even works. Now we have it completely automated. What's really cool is that now we've done the same thing with our real estate investment club. We found the Bivio version of for real estate. And so that's one thing we've been trying to do, but we kept buying property. We didn't just wait to find that perfect solution to then buy property. We bought property, and now we're wrapping in more structure as we go along into that portfolio. And the goal this year is actually to buy even more property. So yeah, we've come a long way from just talking about getting doors. Now, not only do we have about 6 doors, we're in the process of now we're like, hey, why can't we buy a 14 unit like John Delia? Why can't we buy whatever we want to buy? So it's like the sky's the limit. Now our goals are a lot bigger. We took action. We got fancy. Goals scale. So please make sure you leave a rating or a review, preferably a 5-star review. Let people know that you've heard the show. It's funny because I'm always getting calls from like people who I don't know. And they're like, man, the show was so helpful. It was so helpful. And I mean, we definitely appreciate those. Document those. Leave them in the YouTube comments. Leave them in the SoundCloud comments. Leave them Stitch, wherever you listen to the show. Let us know that you heard it, that you liked it, all that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American investors and business owners so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. We want people to learn the business and investing and the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. This week, we have a brother named Ro, the realtor. His government name, his official name is Roeman Murphy. He is an identical twin. He did college at at Southern University. He has a background in hospitality with hopes of owning a hotel. He actually owns 4 rental properties and a commercial building. And he's here to talk to you guys specifically about what's going on in Flint, Michigan, because that's where he hails from. So with that, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that introduction. You make me sound very wonderful and astute.
So can you let's talk about your resume. Can you tell us about, who you are, what you have going on? Just kind of fill us in on who you are as an individual.
Yes. Like you said, my name is Roeman Murphy. I am a native of Flint, Michigan. I'm a realtor in the area. I've been doing real estate sales for about 2.5 years now. Ready to start training so that I can become a broker, so that I can have agents up under me. Because I'm not one to really be out in the field, but I can definitely show people how to get out in the field and actually sell inventory and get inventory that's not on the market, or off market on the market, if that makes sense. And I guess another thing is, I'm an identical twin. My brother and I, we both are partners. We're both investors in the city. And we went away for a little bit, but we made our way on back because we saw how things were moving in the city. And we definitely wanted to be a part of that.
Nice. So I want to talk to you about the mindset. It's not something that I've done before in the show in this form, but I always like to find out what sparked in people that made them start thinking about investing in real estate, starting their own business. What was that trigger for you?
The trigger for me when I was working at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was a hotel manager out there, and I was working heavy hours, and I was making decent money, but I felt I also didn't have the time to actually make it feel beneficial for the money that I was actually making. And so I figured I need to create a way to free up my time as well as make the same amount of money. So from there, what I actually did, I sat down and I had a conversation with myself. I don't have any kids and I'm not in a relationship. So I figured, hey, if I'm ever going to go out and do something, I might as well do it now. And what is actually going to create the financial freedom that I want? And I saw that real estate was something along that line. I still love hotels, have a big passion for them. So I really sat back and said, what can I do to put myself in a comfortable position? And so from there, I said, let's start playing Monopoly, real life Monopoly.
Right.
And then as the market changed a lot, Flint has hit a big economic depression. And one of the reasons for that is not only because of the housing collapse in 2008, but General Motors left the city prior to then. So we had already felt the effects of the decline. And inventory is cheap here. Why not, come back and purchase a property for a little bit of nothing and either rent it out and create cash flow or, purchase something for myself and I live free. And so that what made me, transition myself out of corporate America to working for myself. No matter how hard it got, I wanted to see exactly what I could do to create my own financial freedom.
Right. So GM left. Where did they go?
GM, they left and went overseas, China, Mexico.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They left the country. And
it makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And, at one point, Michigan, the city of Flint had 9 shops. Most people don't know General Motors actually started directly here in Flint, and then it migrated down to Detroit. And when it started here, it was actually called Dort and Durant Carriages. So they made carriage horses here. And Michigan and Flint was also big on lumber. Because of the water rights that it has right there, and everything passes up and down along there. So, it's always been big with the automotive industry, and we took a big hit once General Motors left.
Yeah, those jobs are a key driver in real estate.
Correct. Yeah, it had 8 plants here, and then it shrunk down to 2. So it was a big loss. About 70,000 jobs had been lost.
Yeah, I think what's interesting though is what I always tell people is when I buy stocks the way I buy real estate, which is interesting because at first I thought that was crazy to see the similarities between stocks and real estate. And I did some reading and I found out that Buffett does the same exact thing. Warren Buffett buys real estate how he buys stocks. And so what you did is what I'm surprised more people haven't done. Yes. Where you see an opportunity and you're like, hey, I'm going to come in where they need help as opposed to trying to kind of buy in areas that are so hot that there might not be any opportunity left. And then you're going to catch that upswing. You're going to buy the cheap inventory. You're going to look like the hero at the end of the day.
Yes. Look like the hero at the end of the day. But pretty much what I'm looking to do, I guess that would be one of the rewards. I honestly didn't look down that far the line when it came from, I guess, a reward standpoint or a pat on the back. But what I'm pretty much looking to do, I have people who I know and love that's still in this area. And so pretty much what I was looking to do is just create a bridge where I can create, someone to actually purchase a home instead of renting. And this is ownership where they can pass it down from generation to generation. If it's nothing else, if you don't have any life insurance or anything, you can definitely pass this home along, and it can be leveraged in so many different ways, if you have the right education behind you. So that's pretty much my biggest thing with actually coming back and investing in the city. But I understand that there also will be other things that will come up that I don't foresee just because of the avenue that I'm looking to take.
So you're in real estate, you're in a market that is, quote, depressed or kind of underwater a little bit. How does somebody go about financing a property like that?
You have to become very creative. One, because most of the banks aren't lending anything under $35,000 really. So it's pretty much being red line. So you have to have private funding, or you'll have to get some type of hard money lending in order to actually get the lending for that. Now, what I've been doing is it's all been private funding. I've been using my money. Everything has been invested directly coming from me. Or I have one other small partner who's been in kind of like my small money guy. So that's how we do it with private funding. But, you are able to make a return as well. I don't go in to look to get the most expensive property. I like to stay under $15,000 all in.
Me too.
And hopefully I could find something that's a little bit better than that,
Yeah.
So one of the properties that I have come across, I purchased it for $6,500. I put $2,000 into it, and then I put a renter inside of there and started cash flow, and I was able to get my money back, within the first year.
Crazy.
So,
it's so crazy because if you don't live in that market, it's tough to fathom that market.
Yes.
We're looking for a house right now, and an affordable house in California is around $320.
Oh, wow.
Affordable. That's the affordable. That's like, yeah, we found it. But it's like, and so for you to look at a house where it's a standing house for 15 grand, people are like, nah, that can't be real. Nobody's gonna rent that from me. It's gonna be a war zone. And that's the beauty of this podcast. That's the beauty of social media. That's the beauty of talking to people. There's a whole nother world out there that's filled with opportunity. And I tell people that you kind of have an advantage. Like if you live outside of the state in a high cost of living state where your wages are higher, where you have access to people with more money, you could literally go into a city and redevelop the entire city. And that's what they want you to do these days. They want you to take your capital gains and the opportunity zones everybody's talking about and use those capital gains will then be tax-free to reinvest in these areas and help bring up the values.
Yes.
My goal is just to make sure that it's ideally African-American owned and controlled. Makes no sense to get gentrified out when there's opportunity that we could all be taking advantage of.
Exactly. And since Flint is 70% Black or African-American and 90% in the inner city, then it's like, I definitely want to invest here. Most people are scared to invest on the north side of Flint specifically. They do call it a war zone area, but those are the areas that I actually do like. The reason for that is because they have a lot of gems over there. Nice brick homes, they just need a little love and proper caring for. And we have people who are willing to actually move inside of these homes and take care of them and treat them like theirs. So that opens up doors for land contract options, rent to own options, or some type of Section 8 purchasing, down the line. So it gives a lot more opportunities, and it also goes through a small coaching process of showing someone how to actually maintain a home.
Right. I think that's one of the most rewarding feelings. Our tenant, she's leaving on the 3rd of November. But when she first moved into the place, she actually, we weren't going to take her as a tenant because somebody else was better qualified, and that person ended up disappearing. And so when I was letting her down, I was telling her like, hey, like, yeah, we're not going to go with you. I told her, I was like, I think you should do this to get your credit straight so you can either buy something or you have the savings to buy something or you have the credit to where somebody will take you in 6 months. She didn't listen then, but now she's listening. Now she's leaving and she's doing exactly what I told her to do. So I think that I always tell people, like, it's not just enough to like give back monetarily. If you have education, if you have knowledge, you should be sharing that with people so they can make better informed decisions, which will then improve the community because then you have more intelligent people in the community, financially intelligent. So
correct. And I totally agree with that.
I really want to ask 2 questions. Sometimes we can go down a tunnel and I don't get a chance to ask the questions, but I have 2 questions. Is how do you make an investment, a successful investment, in areas that people are scared to invest in?
The first thing I would say is you have to be in tune with the market, or at least have someone there on ground that you trust. So with that, me being from here, I know a lot of people, and I'm able to navigate through hurdles that some may find very challenging and disgruntled and want to run away from.
Absolutely.
So I would guess I would have to say the resources inside of the city that I have. makes it best for me. And then I'm actually physically able to go to the property and analyze it for myself, and also put my stamp on it, like, hey, I do think that this is a good deal. We probably should move on here. Also, I'm a realtor, so I have access to the MLS system, so I run comps on them to check the numbers and make sure that they work, and no one is really BSing me.
Yeah. That's important. Is being able to figure out that actual value of the property is very important, especially when you're talking to wholesalers.
Yes, the ARV gets a little crazy.
Like, where'd you get this number from, man? Where'd you get this number from? Next question is brick homes. A lot of people put brick homes on a pedestal over, I guess, stick-built homes is what they've called them. Why is that? Why is that?
The reason for that is because the foundation is able to withstand a little bit more of this harsh Michigan winters. It's not so much beat up from the winds to the hail. You may get everything in one day. Seriously, no lie. The weather up here is crazy. Like, I just came in from the office literally before we got on this podcast, and it's 24 degrees outside. It's cold, so the temperature drops and fluctuates so much that it takes a toll on the bones of the property. And if it has brick, then it doesn't shift as much. It's pretty stern. Makes sense. So that's why the people put values on that. And also, if it catch on fire, it doesn't burn as fast. So small things like that. That's all. Just structural purposes.
Absolutely. It's just interesting because I heard you put an emphasis on brick, and anybody else that I talk to in Michigan is like brick house, brick house, brick house. They don't buy those stick-built homes, or they prefer not to, or they ask to get a lower price on those. It's very interesting. I've kind of started to find the value in a brick house as well.
Yeah, I like them. They hold up. I did get a chance to listen to Asia's podcast with you and her, and she mentioned them as well. Like, it has 50 to 100 years that it's been standing, and it's amazing to walk into a property and you can literally feel, the thing, the vibe coming from the home. It's like, wow, it's so much history that's inside of this home that, yeah, let's go ahead and bring it back to life.
Mm-hmm. So you're in Flint. What's the vibe like out there right now? I mean, we all know the water crisis, all that. Like, what's the morale like out there?
The morale for the city, I will have to say that they don't trust the government because they've been portrayed. But the city is also unified as far as moving together. Now, don't get me wrong, it is crime in here, but when things happen like a tragedy that's happening right now, the city does come together and it moves in one force. And it's just a lot of small things that's going on inside the city, such as, okay, so we are in a water crisis, and our mayor came out and said that people are only supposed to pay the sewer and the trash pickup, disregard the actual water part on there. Well, now that's coming into a problem because it's just showing up in the system as people aren't paying their full bills. And so people are starting to get their waters turned off. And that's creating a big issue. And it takes 3 weeks before you can get your water reconnected. So that's a whole thing in itself, people living without running water. So it's just hard for people to actually trust the government and the city with the way that things are being handled. Mm-hmm. But people have faith because we also do see growth inside the city. There's a new high school being built, new highways being put down, gas lines being put throughout. So we see the infrastructure being changed around the city and money being put inside of here. But, people are still disgruntled about how things are being handled.
Mm-hmm. One thing, well, first, I kind of got exposed to Flint from that documentary on Netflix. Did you see the documentary?
I did, yes. I did, yes.
How true is that documentary?
It was too real.
Oh.
Yeah, it was too real in my opinion, but because that's how it really is here in Flint. Like, one thing I always want people to do, even with watching the documentary, still come visit because Flint has more than one side. People like to show the negative side of Flint.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a whole nother side that people don't show. It's still money here in the city, but it's a bad side as well. So it's giving its take. So I definitely want people to come and see for yourself the growth. The people, you'll get a totally different vibe once you're actually here and interacting with the people here.
Yeah, Detroit's the same way. The first time I went to Detroit by myself, all I saw was the hood and downtown. The second time I went and I hung out with Asia a little bit, and so I saw the hood, I saw downtown, but then I saw like an area of Detroit that they never show on the news. It looked just like Beverly Hills. It was nice, like huge homes, brick homes, nice homes, mansions that if you watch the news, you wouldn't think there were mansions in Detroit. You wouldn't think there's still money in Detroit. You wouldn't think there were neighborhoods in Detroit that look just like Buckhead, where you have like these people outside jogging with their dogs and stuff. Like, I think that you're right. It's kind of like you have to do your own due diligence in a property. You can't just take what they're telling you. You have to go and dig for yourself. Otherwise, you might get screwed. And getting screwed in that instance means missing out on a lot of opportunity. Because if you just only listen to what they're telling you, you're going to say, no, I'm not going there. It's a bad area. And then you realize, like, one thing I wanted to say is that we actually do have an advantage investing in the scary neighborhoods. When the tenants, like, you already know what they're trying to do. It's way different. You know what they're going through. You know what their mom looks like. You know what their grandma looks like. You know what they're eating for Christmas. Like, you really know them. So it's like you have an advantage because it's what might seem scary to bigger pockets gives you an advantage. And if you don't lead on that advantage, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So
yes, I totally agree. Because like a lot of people are scared to invest here in Flint, specifically because of the water reason, and they just don't know exactly what all is going on with it, how long it's going to take for anything to be repaired, why is it taking so long, and so forth. There's so many questions that comes up. But then, that's where I come in to help bridge that gap and, give a little information out, I guess, without putting too much on the table, because I see 10 years down the line versus, tomorrow. So it helps me on my end as well, too.
Yeah. Right. How has the water crisis impacted the real estate market?
It has impacted it. Starting off, it was very negative because banks weren't even really lending in the city of Flint. If you had lead pipes inside the home, they said, "Hey, it's too much of a risk. We aren't doing it." Deal closed. That easy. But now it's turning around a lot. Flint has already hit its lowest point. It has no choice but to turn around. Right. Flint has been suffering for the last 10 years. And so you can't go any lower than $5,000 homes. I'm sorry. It's hard to. And so the market is turning around, and we do see it because one of my properties have doubled already. So why not hold on to it to see if it tripled?
Right.
So it has its pros. At first, it was rough, but now it is starting to smooth out, and we're seeing positive results.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah, I call Flint a sleeper city, just because people don't. The only thing people really know about it now is the water crisis, and it has gotten national attention in regards to that. And that's the only thing that people are putting emphasis on is the water crisis. But there's so many other things that's going on inside the city that I kind of think people want you to be asleep so that you don't see anything else that's going on. Because we have a Kettering University, which is now has become the largest landholder in Genesee County, a university. So I see this becoming a college town since they already have control over it. And we have U of M Flint, University of Michigan Flint, which has its own base campus directly downtown Flint. We have a Michigan State Extension campus. We have Oakland University. We have Mott Community College. Kettering University is partnered directly with General Motors. That's how a lot of engineers came out. So I see it becoming a smart city and a college town. And
interesting.
I literally see the wave going, and I'm just trying to ride it as best I can.
That's dope. That's very, very insightful and optimistic.
Yeah, yeah. Tesla also mentioned about bringing a plant here as well,
Wow.
manufacturing plant. So there's things that definitely on
He
the
did.
table. Plant
That was some
can
Elon
really
Musk said something like that, right? Elon Musk
yeah.
actually wanted to help solve the water problem out there too, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and he did donate some money as well. But honestly, the city has so much money. The problem that they're coming into is this has never been done with changing the entire infrastructure in the city.
Yeah.
And so getting the right engineers for it, the layouts for it, the plans, how people will be paid in the way that they will be paid, which homes actually have been affected, which homes have been replaced already. So all these things coming into effect, that's what's causing the slow progress of it. It just so many other things that are popping up, and it's a little bit overwhelming for the city to actually take care of that. Also, when they are being micromanaged by the governor, the governor, which created this whole chaos in the first place.
Yeah. Interesting when you say that. About a year, maybe 2 years ago, when I was in law school, one of our professors, I think it was either a professor or was somebody who I was working with at the time in Orange County, California, which is a pretty affluent area. They had this situation where all these new homes had these pipes put in, and there's something wrong with the pipes where there's like a hairline fractures that were starting to kind of happen. And so they had to go in and bust down all the walls, and they sent in people to do it. And I think what I take from that is like, everybody has these problems. Like
Yes.
everybody has issues. It's not just a Flint, like, oh, it's Flint. It's like every city, every state has issues. It's just a matter of like, when is a solution going to take place?
Yes.
So
You
why
know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
why do you think it's taken so long to create a solution?
Money. And what I mean by money is everyone wants to put their hand in the bowl. Who's going to come with the right contracts? Who's going to have the right team that will be able to get this done effectively and efficiently at the appropriate cost as well, you know, and who also has the history with replacing these. So I think those things come into effect. Also, our city council as well. All of them have to agree on who is going to actually do the replacements. Budgets, proposals need to be put into effect. So I guess man versus money is the biggest thing when it comes to finishing the pipes. They have done about 6,000 pipe replacements in the city, but they still have another 20,000 to go.
Right.
And so,
I mean, I think first and foremost, I'm just a kind of make it happen kind of guy.
yes,
I don't like the talking and negotiating and all that stuff. Like, just get the work done. But what's interesting is, like, I didn't know that they had even done 6,000 pipes worth of work. So it's interesting to talk to people on the ground, but it's also interesting the things that you don't really hear about in the news.
yes. And I like to keep an ear because I spread this information to other people that I know as well, you know, in the city. My godmother is very influential in the city as well, and she passed a lot of information along to me. And she's been in the industry a lot longer than I've been alive. So it's like, you know, why not go to her to get some information? And she passed that along directly to me because why not give it to the generation that's up under you?
Nice. So this is the part of the show where I'm just going to start firing off questions.
Okay.
And I always tell people that if it's repetitive, it doesn't matter, because usually what will happen is you'll find more to pull out of that question.
Okay.
So I'm going to fire this off. What is the outlook of residents in Flint?
The outlook of residents in Flint is they see growth, but they're hesitant when it comes to our leaders, just because they aren't performing in a satisfactory way that is pleasing to the people.
Nice.
How are you helping the people? So that's the biggest question, and no one feels like they're being helped at all. And water rates are crazy. It's causing health concerns as well. So you have to go to the doctor for different things that are coming up. So the outlook for people is that it's rough, but they definitely have hope. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, when it speaks from, people who have been affected by the lead that is actually inside the water, the kids that are 4, 5, and 6 years old, when it comes 10 years down the line, I also know that has a correlation when it comes to violent behavior. So that's something that we will have to worry about as well. How are we going to treat these children going forward? But ultimately, there's hope here, since there's an international spotlight on the city.
Right. Has the water crisis created opportunities for investors?
Yes, it's created a lot of opportunities for investors, mainly because you have to be here, hands-on, in order to know the market. So this allows me to, hey, Todd, I have a deal here. You think you may be interested, or anyone on your team may be interested in it. This is personally not for me, but I'm able to pass this deal along. So it definitely creates opportunities in this market on more than one level, not just selling a property, but creating opportunities with partnerships, resources, things of that nature, being able to network with other individuals.
So you mentioned that there are certain parts of Flint. Which parts would you say are good parts to invest in, and which parts would you say are not so good parts to invest in? And what's interesting is that a lot of times what's a good place to invest in has a lot of bad traits. So like you might think it's a bad area, but that actually makes it a good area to invest in. But where do you see it? It could be certain sections of the city, certain zip codes. What are some good places to look to invest there?
Good place to invest, I would say the 48503 zip code, and the 48507 and 48504. Those zip codes, people seem to want to move to. Those are also highly, okay, so the 48504 is high when it comes to renting. That's a high rental area. Everyone wants to rent. I don't care. Like, you can offer to sell it. They're going to say, hey, how much can I rent this for? And then the 48507 and 48503, people want to mainly buy inside of those areas. Those are closer to expressways. They're also a little bit closer to General Motors areas, more the industrial type areas, where it's easy to access the highways and get back and forth to work. I would stay away from the 48506 area. That's one of the lower income areas. And the reason I would also stay away from there is just because a lot of the properties have been ran down and not taken care of. And that is one of the side of the cities that you see is becoming green zone. And what I mean by green zone, blight is coming through, knocking homes down, and you cannot rebuild on that land.
Wow.
Once the home is knocked down, it's knocked down. You can purchase the lot, but you can't rebuild on it for redevelopment purposes. So I would stay away from the 48506 zip code. It's kind of rough over there.
When you were getting started real estate investing, what pieces of education did you use to get started?
I used my hospitality background to get into real estate. Because ultimately, I would like to own my own hotel. And so I figured, why not start playing real life Monopoly? If I could come home, get 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, cash out on those, and then invest in an apartment or a small hotel. And so that was my avenue with it. I'm sorry. I kind of got off track a little bit.
No, that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to take this conversation next is I actually want to work through your portfolio. So I want to talk to you about your very first deal and then all the way up to the commercial. So can you talk to us about how you found, financed, and rehabbed that very first property?
That very first property. So what we did, I went to my pops. I said, hey, pops, I found a property. I think it's nice. You should walk through it with me. He said, all right. He did. He was like, so what you gonna do with it? I said, we're gonna rent it out. He said, why would you rent it out? And said, to create cash flow. Just moved back here to Michigan. I got a little money. You have some that you could possibly help me with investing. So I would like to, purchase this property. So we got the property. It needed about $1,000 worth of work. It was worth. We bought it for $22,000. It was in one of the very nice sides of Flint. Like, we getting this for a steal, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's 1,500 square feet, 1-car garage attached to it, nice landscape. And the only thing that it needed done was a little bit of work inside of the kitchen area, which drywall and stuff like that. So he ended up giving us a couple grand, and we bought it on land contract. I put a tenant inside of there and had them pay for the land contract.
Right.
And then it forced equity down, paid the mortgage down, and then 2 years later we flipped it. And
you know what?
We walked away with 15 grand on it. So it was
dope.
A nice profit for us, and it also opened up the next door to allow us to get the second one as well.
My mind is blown right now for a few reasons. The first is that I just realized that sometimes when you buy a property, because this has always been one of my plans, is buy a property on land contract, put a tenant inside to pay the lease or pay the land contract. A lot of times the payment of the land contract makes the cash flow very, very tight.
Yes.
And so I've had a hard time justifying it because I've always been a cash flow investor, but I'm realizing that it might make sense just to have the tenant there just paying off the house.
Just paying off the house.
Even
Yes.
if it's even if it doesn't cash flow, they're still giving you money because in actuality, it's cash flowing 100%. Every single cent is yours because they're paying off your debt. If they pay off that house in a year to a year and a half, they've given you $20,000.
Yes.
Because then you can either refinance the house, you can sell the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, in that sense, cash flow isn't the play.
Yeah, cash flow wasn't the play. It was more or less for the back end.
That is dope, man.
I knew what I was going to get in the back end, and I knew in that area, the property was going to increase. Yeah. I just, even if I just held on to it, I knew it was going to increase. And so with that, I held on to it for exactly 24 months.
Yeah.
And then I sold it.
Yeah.
And from there, I paid off the land contract, and then I also walked away with a nice profit as well.
That's dope. That is so cool. I'm hitting everybody over the head with land contracts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. And then, this is something that's still premature, but I can share it on this show because it can be shared multiple different ways and different. So my brother and I, what we are looking to do is create land contract options for the people here in Flint. We want to do 5, 7, and 10-year options with actually purchasing a home and actually owning it. And so we will also make it very affordable in a way that, it's not going to be too much more than renting, because inside of those payments, you're going to have to do your taxes and insurance as well.
Insurance,
that's
maintenance,
a requirement, and maintenance. Like I want them to be able to take care of the home once the land contract is finished.
Right.
I don't want to just, you pay me these X amount of years and then you lose it because you haven't been paying your taxes. So it's like I also want to go through this educational factor with actually creating homeowners in the area.
Wow, that is so dope. You know what? I think having a brother help you really gives you, because that is just dope. As I'm talking to you, I'm like, man, you can literally buy a property, land contract it, and then wrap a land contract around that land contract.
Yes.
And you're getting paid to do nothing. You don't have any more maintenance, no more insurance, no more taxes. You literally are just holding paper at that point, getting paid for it.
And you guaranteeing yourself a payment for the next 5, 7, or 10 years.
Right. And you can buy as many as you want because it's a different type of situation because there's not much money out of your pocket at that point in time.
Correct.
It's like you're buying, this is dope.
You're buying I would say you're buying a whole house for a little bit of nothing. and then turn around and making a nice investment on it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I also know these are the things that aren't being taught to us. So
Right.
these are the things that I feel I'm able to bring back to the community to help revive it and stabilize it a little bit. Because, I mean, the people that I grew up with, I always say it, I don't want to look up 10 years and you say that you can't afford to live here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That'll be
because you didn't lock it in when it was easy to get locked in.
correct.
That's what'll happen. That's dope, man. I just learned something completely brand new. And it wasn't so much that I learned it, it's that I saw it being done. And I think sometimes that's what's really important. Even like for myself, I talk to investors on the show every week, and you can still learn something from like, man, I think what really is important is you can't really grasp how important that is until you hear how expensive maintenance can be.
Yes.
And maintenance it can be huge. Contractors are just like floating around waiting to hit you with a bill over the head.
Yeah, so you definitely have to keep a little bit in the stash and and be prepared for that day. I struck my living down to a bare minimum. So
Right.
my homes are my kids, they always need something, always want something. So that's how I look at it. They say, why don't you have any children yet? Well, I have 4 who requires my attention often.
That's very true. That's funny. That's dope. Deal 2. What did deal 2 look like, man? Actually, before I let you go, one thing I will say is that's one of our exit strategies that we have, is that's why we buy single family homes as opposed to buying like large scale multifamily, is because I have a basically my thinking is that this economy is not going to last forever. We're not going to be a renter nation forever. And so when that time comes, I want to have multiple exit strategies. If you want to rent from us, cool. If you want to buy from us, then that's cool too. And we'll just at that point in time become the bank, and we'll land contracts out to you, and then we'll just rid ourselves of all of that. So I've been kind of thinking of how I wanted to structure it and what the payment would look like, because I mean, what people don't realize is when you finance a house, usually you end up paying twice what the house costs. So if you buy a $250,000 house, you're going to pay about $250,000 worth of interest. Altogether, you paid about $500,000 for a house that costs $250,000. Ideally, it appreciates, but that's kind of where I want us to position ourselves. I want us to be able to still get a pretty solid ROI, so that we're getting 10, 12% a year, so that then at the end of the day, we've doubled our money in 5 to 7 years.
Definitely makes sense.
What did property number 2 look like?
Property number 2, also purchased on a land contract. I love land contracts because I'm able to write the deal as I please and be very comfortable with it. And so went ahead and bought the second property, cash flowed that one as well. I still hold on to that one. That one is just cash flowing, and I'm going to hold on to that one specifically because of the area that we bought it in. That was the one that we bought for $6,500 and put $2,000 into. And the area that is in, I just have to hold on to it. I do. I can
Honestly,
see it.
I think you should hold on to anything you buy. I'm not a fan of selling real estate. I'm a fan of owning it forever.
Well, it's so much real estate here, and a lot of it is off market, and that's how I find a lot of my deals.
That's the best way to find them, honestly.
Yeah, I need absentee owners. That's what I like, because a lot of people who aren't here, you don't know the condition of this home. And even if I send pictures, that's only going to justify some of it.
Right.
So I love targeting those because we're able to make a deal and everyone is satisfied at the end of the day. It's a win-win.
Are you guys mailing or cold calling?
Mailing.
Okay.
And my twin, he takes care of a lot of the wholesaling side. So he has templates set up where he's just sending directly out. So I'll be driving down the street, driving for Dallas. I'm like, hey, bro, I got this address. I just sent it over to your email because I'm a realtor. So I didn't put everything up, shot it over to him. He put it in his template and shoot it right out. And he keeps track of, ones that he sends out. So it definitely does help having my brother, because he also think like I think as well. That's double vision.
Twins,
two minds thinking alike. So, but we also have different outcomes as well. He was like, hey, I think we need to do this instead of this. Like, hey, that sounds good. Let's take that approach versus my original thought.
Yeah. Man, 2 things I pull out of that. The first is driving for dollars. I think a lot of times people, when they start trying to call people,
Yeah.
they want to go buy a list. And so they'll go and they'll spend all this money buying a list when you literally just get in the car, man, buy some gas and drive and write some addresses down, man. I think that's dope.
It's very easy. You know, we look at small things. Who haven't shoveled their driveway, or who has high grass, or the house look beat up a little bit. It's a broken window. The roof is a little rough. So we look at those little signs like that, you know, before we actually just start sending out letters, because that also does become a little costly too.
Hugely costly. And if you can be more targeted, which is what you're doing, you're going to be more efficient, which makes it more profitable, which makes it, you're not wasting money at that point in time. It's like, who wants to waste money?
Exactly.
Yeah. The next thing you said that was really dope is that you and your brother work together. I think that's very important. I think you can either create a team of strangers on the internet, or you can have a team, but it's really important to be working with somebody towards a common goal. It kind of creates that shared intellect that, you have two people working towards finding deals, two people working towards doing whatever. So then you can divide up what you're good at doing and what he's good at doing. And you guys just, instead of trying to have somebody who's not good at doing one thing, do what he's not good at, you just divide it up, which makes you guys 100% dope at everything you touch.
Correct.
Cool.
And, you know, I also work with a few other partners, two other companies, which forms all of us together. So it's a group called BIC, Business Investment Coalition, and then another which is Max and Baker Properties. And so what all of us do, we all own a building together on Saginaw, the commercial building.
Right.
And so we bought that one last year in November. We also bought it on land contract, drew up the terms. But what was sweet about this deal is we not only bought the building, we bought the entire block.
That's
and
dope.
So we're literally just holding on to it as of right now, because that commercial building sits on the north side, which a lot of people is scared to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
But as that property just sits, it continues to increase in value because the surrounding buildings around it are steadily selling as well. So we went in and stripped everything and started remodeling in it. And so it's a blank canvas as of right now with new hardware and with new bones, but it's literally just sitting and it's making us decent money. So we also meet once a month with the guys, just sit down, talk, brainstorm, see what else we can do inside the city to help revitalize it and create more business owners inside of the city as well.
That's dope. That's dope. Dope for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, people don't want to work a 30-year job anymore, you know. So why not try to help create some type of income for yourself? Mm-hmm. Whether is that just to, you know, take some trips or a little money to stash away for a rainy day.
So what does that property look like? You said commercial building. Is this like a warehouse? Is this like retail space? What kind of commercial space are we talking about? It's
a office. It's zoned for office space. It's 3 units on the building. And honestly, I think that's where we're going to go back with putting the 3 units exactly in there. Right now, what we did was bust all the insides down. So all right now is one open canvas. But it does still have the 3 exterior doors. And I think we're going to go back and put up the 3 portions of the wall so that we can create that 3 unit and at least just put someone inside of there to start making it pay for itself.
What condition is the outside in? Did you guys
it's also a brick building, and it's in great condition. We made sure that the exterior and the roof was actually good on there before we purchased it. So one of my business partner, his uncle is a licensed contractor and also a masonry inside of the area. And so having that resource and him come by and check it out, he was like, "How much did y'all purchase this for?" Like, "We bought this entire block for $22,000. He was like, "Oh, wow. Okay, so great deal, you know. Like, even if you tore this down and literally just held on to the land, you'll make your money back."
Nice.
And that's a long-term play for us as well. So with me and all my partners, all of us have a few rentals, and then we invest in the commercial spots together, so that it helps everyone from that standpoint.
Nice. Property number 3, what did that look like?
Property number three. I ended up selling that one. But it did. Oh no, I still have it. I'm sorry. Because some of them I buy, hold, and then I'll sell. So I still do have 4 rental properties as of right now. So property number 3, we were able to purchase off of a commercial building that we had, that we ended up selling.
Okay.
And that one was passed down directly to us from my aunt. She just no longer wanted the building and take care of it. And so we took over it with her mortgage on there, and we ended up selling it because I knew she owed less than what the market was. So that's how we got into 3.
Nice. You mentioned in one sense you did $1,000 worth of rehab on a property, and the other you did $2,000 worth of rehab. Are you guys doing this work yourself and you're just paying for the materials, or what does that look like?
We do it ourselves. I YouTube everything. YouTube shows you how to do everything. I had a leak in my bathroom, and it was costing me stupid money with the water bill because it just constantly kept running. And so I called a few of my contractors. They were playing around with actually getting out to the property, and I'm like, hey, this bill is steadily going up. I need to get this resolved. So I called my tenant. I went over to the house, and it took me 3 hours to do it, but I finally fixed it. And I was like, going forward, I will be able to fix any leak in the bathroom really because of YouTube.
Right. And I think that's so key. That's key for a lot of reasons. What I was going to say is that the first time you do it is the hardest time. So yeah, it took you 3 hours to do it the first time. It's not going to take you 3 hours the next time. You already know what you're looking for. You already know what to do. And I think that is so important. I think that that's a big part of the reason why we manage our properties ourselves, because we wanted the experience. We didn't want somebody else to get the phone calls. We wanted to get the phone calls. So then when we go into the next property, we're vetting tenants differently because we know, like, okay, we need to make sure you have this, because we've been burned over here this way. And so I think that is so dope. It's dope because it's a skill set. And so then also when you're hiring contractors, you can know when they're BSing you. You're like, it's not going to take you 3 hours to do this. Like, it should take you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and the parts are this much. And so it kind of makes you a better business owner by doing the work. A lot of times people like to substitute work for money, and they don't realize that you're giving away a lot of your skills. You're giving away a lot of your leverage down the line by passing it off. I think that's super dope. A lot of people should be listening to that and hearing, like, hey, you can YouTube literally anything, and you just type it in there, like, pipe is leaking out of this joint, and they'll say, okay, this is the video how to do it. Anything is on the YouTube. I found out how to install artificial turf on YouTube. Like, anything is on YouTube.
Yes, everything is on there, and it definitely helps. And like you said, I definitely want to be hands-on with it. And I got that from the hospitality industry. I literally worked my way from the bottom up to the top. Like, I started in a small hotel in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, working front desk, then housekeeping, and then I got promoted out to Vegas, was a maintenance supervisor, housekeeping supervisor, and then front desk supervisor all at the same time. Then went on from there and went to the Flamingo Hotel, which is a 3,500 hotel, and being able to manage that with multiple employees. So it did help. Learning, I like to go from the ground level all the way up to the top, just so I can have the experience for myself, and then knowing when someone is BSing me.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. It's like, don't run away from the work, run to it.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you about the property number 4, and then we're going to fire off some questions and wrap up the show. So can you tell us about property number 4? Because I hate when I get people on the show and I don't get to drill into their portfolio. Like, we talk about a few properties, but I mean, each property might be different. So what did property 4 look like for you?
Correct. Property 4, I can't lie, having a little trouble with my tenant. The reason is because they were they are a friend, and I didn't vet them the exact same way as I vetted the others, which is my fault. I take full responsibility for it.
Gotcha.
But also being a good landlord, what I do is still try to coach them through the process before any type of eviction comes. The way that I acquired that is still had a little bit money left over from the commercial building. So I also put a little bit money to that as well. Like I said, I like to purchase my properties through land contract. This one, I didn't. I partnered with my youngest brother, who
That's
he is an attorney in Houston, and so he looks over all our paperwork and things like that. So I partnered directly with my brother, and that's how we went ahead and purchased this property right here. And
That's dope.
it is cash flowing, but the tenant is a month behind. And come Thursday is the first, and it's going to be 2 months. So
Hey, it's funny. Before we owned rental properties, that first of the month used to seem bad. Now it's like a holiday. So
now it's like a holiday.
You get a holiday every month, man.
Yes, I love it.
Like, oh, dang, the first is coming up again. What are some tips you have for people who are looking to get started?
I would say figure out what your end game is, at least from a macro standpoint. And what I mean by that is there can be so many different avenues that you can take with inside real estate because that becomes broad. But what ultimately would you want to do that would be satisfactory to you to the end? So I know I would like to be a hotel owner. How am I going to take those steps? I have to put a system in play with me stacking up on small rental properties, cash and flow those out, because this is what works directly for me. Cash flow those out. Then once I do that, I sell them off. And then I either get a small apartment complex and leverage up from there, or I go directly into the hotel game, which I think I like to do versus taking the apartment aspect. The reason that it will work for me is because my brother want to own apartment complexes. So it allows me to say, hey, I can invest over here and you run the show over here, and then I'll run this side of the company, and we're still able to get both we want.
Yeah. Or what you could do is you could build something that's a combination of both. That's been one of my goals. My goal is to have a development that's a combination of everything, that has hotel, apartments, and then also has office space. So that's one thing that's my long-term goal. My goal is, because I want to have my own office in there, and I want to go down there, and I want to live in the same place I work. I don't want to commute. I want to work, and then you can work at 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight if you need to.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. They kind of have something like that in the W in Dallas. Mm-hmm. It's somewhat like that, but they just don't have the office space at the bottom. But they do have the combined living, which is very dope. It makes sense, live where you work.
Yeah,
just physically two different places though, but it's the same building.
Mm-hmm. In downtown LA, they have the Ritz-Carlton. I think it's the Ritz-Carlton. And the Ritz-Carlton it's one half is actual residences, and the other side is a hotel. Same building, same lobby, all that stuff. Super dope. Kobe lives there. Mayweather lives there. Super dope. What was your best deal? What was your best deal?
My best deal would have to be that first land contract option where I put the tenant inside of there, the cash flowed it, and then I made a profit off of there. The reason I also say that was one of my best deals is because the tenant that I had inside of there, we were able to put her in a position to buy once she's left the house. So I not only cash flowed her with being inside of there, but I also made a commission off the house that I sold her.
That's dope. That's dope.
So I think that was one of my best deals because all that was within like a month of each other. And so it was very great. I was also able to help get her credit restored during the process when she actually lived inside the home. And then that helped her with purchasing the house, and she is wonderful. Her kids have a beautiful home that they can have for theirs forever.
Nice. I think that's really important, man. I wrote this blog post. I don't know if your tenant base is predominantly African-American, but ours is. And I wrote a blog post that basically said, like, I think Black tenants need Black landlords for a lot of reasons. But I think one of those is another point that I made where it's like, we can't get profit and then take it and pull it out just like other people do. Like, if you get profit in there, you got to still be reinvesting into that community. You got to still be trying to uplift and build up that community. Otherwise, like, we might as well just be gentrifiers as well.
Exactly.
So I think
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's dope and it's necessary because you have a vested interest in her. You're not just trying to keep her a tenant forever so she can pay for your kids to go to college. Like, you want her to win. And I think it's necessary. You can't just have business where it's only people taking advantage of people. You have to have some quid pro quo, some give back so that everybody rises to the top. You're winning, obviously. She's winning. And it's all because we did business together as opposed to doing business with Habib. I'm nothing against Habib, but I'm just saying, like.
But, yeah, and that's definitely true. It's a like-minded face, you know. I'm able to relate to them in a different way, you know, because I know we've shared some of the same background growing up, you know, or I'm just able to relate to them on a whole different level. Like, right. Seriously, sit down and have a conversation outside of being professional. You know, right. I still like to keep that professional boundary, but, you know, I'm still a human. I can relate to you outside of being your landlord.
Right. It's so cool. It's like, I talk to the people we work with, like, for the most part, it's super professional, but like, you can still kind of let loose a little bit. You don't have to be like 100% on all the time. Like, you can, I don't know, you can text him cool stuff. Like, yes. I think it's important. It's definitely important for us to do business with each other. What was your worst deal?
My worst deal. I don't want it to come off bad. I just don't make any money off the deal. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of bad since you don't make any money off of it, but it's also good as well. And I can wrap that up. I also own my grandmother's home. And nice. The reason for that is just to make sure that it's always taken care of. She don't have to worry about taxes or anything of that nature, you know, because my brother and I take care of that. So we don't make any money off the deal, but, you know, it's still under our portfolio. It's not cash flowing, but it is paid for. And it's been inside the family for 44 years. And so, you know, I want to make sure that continues to stay inside the family. So that was one of our reasons with actually taking over the property, to make sure that, you know, everything works out. And, you know, that home will always be here, no matter if someone needs to go inside there and live for a while. It's granny house. People, you know how granny house is.
What kind of entity did you guys use to hold that property?
It's under an LLC.
Okay.
And we are getting a little bit better because, like, I've only been in the industry 3 years. So we are getting better when it comes to a holding company and then creating each one as an LLC under yourself, under that holding company. We're in the transition of forming all of that now, but when we first got it, we didn't know that. So everything was held under one LLC, and then we started breaking them up. Right.
I was curious. What's dope about that is you didn't waste time trying to figure out what the best form was. You just make sure that you guys did the steps to acquire the property, and I think that's the best thing you can do. Another thing that's really important is you kind of avoid estate taxes and all of those things by having it in an entity. So it's like you're not in a situation where you inherit it and you have to pay taxes on the property.
Correct. And so, you know, we're still getting that down with structuring the LLCs and how all that is structured, but we definitely want to make sure that it was always protected, at least from a company standpoint.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's super dope. I have a grandma who has a house in Georgia, and her house is pretty much paid off. Okay. But it's in a neighborhood where they're starting to put up yellow doors. And when I say yellow doors, that's when people start investing in. They're buying up the homes from the people that are older who bought those homes, and they're turning them into some homes for millennials. So they're actually trying to revitalize, gentrify that whole neighborhood. And so you start seeing like yellow doors pop up with like these nice sidings, and red doors pop up and green doors and blue doors. Like, I think that's just a sign of gentrification, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's great because it makes her property value increase.
Correct.
The key is just not selling it. The key is keeping the property in the family. The key is not seeing the dollar signs and getting hungry. Because I think and this is just my thing, is like, I like the money that comes with real estate, but I really like the power that comes with real estate. I really like the leverage that comes with real estate. So it's like, I would much rather say we own X than say we made $1 million. It's kind of like Warren Buffett always says. He says, you never sell a cash flowing business just for money. Never sell a good business just for money, because then you're going to have this cash. You have to figure out what you're going to do with that cash. It's like, keep the business, keep the property forever.
Which makes a lot of sense because they aren't making any more land.
Yeah, and not at all. Not at all. And I think it's just like, for so long, it's like the wealth gap exists. And so it's like, you don't want to sell off the wealth gap and then you're stuck with cash. And then before you notice, it just starts to dwindle away. People taking trips, people have problems, people have medical conditions. It's like, just hold the property and figure out a way to solve your problems other ways.
And it's nothing to pass along,
Right.
So that's my biggest thing. I want to change the generational gap when it comes to money. I don't want my future kids, to have to suffer in a way that they just wouldn't have to if money was there,
Absolutely.
And I don't want money to, be everything, but I also know it does create a miserable life if you don't have it,
Absolutely.
So it's a fine line with that, but, I also never get too greedy just because that's not who I am.
Absolutely. What is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book, I am going to have to say I definitely like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that about 15 years ago when I was in high school. One of my best friend uncle, he who happens to live in Sherman Oaks, he's also from Flint. He had us read that book at an early age, just because he said, I need you guys to start seeing a little bit different things. So I definitely like that business book. And then I'm not sure if this is considered a business book or not, but it is something that I take and apply. Jay Prince just came out with a new book, the art and hustle of respect.
I heard about that book.
Yeah, very, very nice book. And it's unique from a Black perspective, when you are entering an industry that is not, it's not many people that look like you, and how to navigate with different things, no matter the what am I trying to say, the reputation that you may have. You still have to be able to handle things in a respectful way, and work through it. So I got a lot through that book because I was able to relate with, things that he did with Mayweather and stuff like that, just seeing how he actually worked through these deals and not using so much muscle power behind it, but still have that respect that, we can take it here, but it's not meant to. It's so many other ways it can be resolved. So I definitely like that, because things can spiral, out of hand very quickly. And no matter if you just send in a quick text message or something, people can interpret it so many different ways. So working through those different things is very I like the way the mindset works.
Yeah, I'm about to check that book out, because sometimes I get into situations with people and it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
I'm not in a violent way, but it just,
it just gets out of context. That's all.
When you start working with successful people, you both feel like you're great, and so both people are just like, I'm the shit. So it's like, you can either like mess with me or you could go somewhere else. And so like, it's very difficult, and that's one thing I'm realizing, to not let my ego ruin relationships. To not let my ego and my belief in myself and my belief in my abilities dismiss somebody else.
Correct.
So I got to check that book out.
Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice. I definitely recommend that book.
Yeah. What is the craziest thing that you have purchased from your real estate success?
The craziest thing. I don't buy anything honestly right now. I'm very frugal. Just because I need to be. I get money and then I invest it into something else. And then if it's in a savings account, it's literally just in a savings account. Like I don't touch it much. So I haven't got anything crazy just yet, but I said as soon as I get to 100,000, soon profit, I am gonna buy a Rolex. I can't lie.
Nice. Yellow gold or white gold?
Yellow.
What kind of Rolex?
I'm still looking into that. Me and my brother, we gonna get matching ones. Cause we said once we get that, we gonna get matching Rollies and be able to pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
That's dope. Prudently frugal and selectively extravagant. So it's like
selectively extravagant. I like that. I'm gonna have to start using that.
Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Who do I look up to? I look up to Jay Morrison.
Nice.
One reason I look up to him is because how he's able to connect with our people. Not because of the success that he has, but literally just because how he's able to connect with our people. I don't think it's in a negative way or a malicious way, just trying to get money from people or anything like that. I think it comes from a genuine place with actually trying to rebuild our communities, also get education out to our people as well. So I look up to Jay.
You guys met him, didn't you? I think I saw a picture with you and your brother and him.
Yeah. I met Jay back in 2016. He was in Detroit. Every time he's come to Detroit, my brother and I go down. Yeah, my brother is the one who actually got us into the Jay Morrison Academy with actually learning, because he came to me one day when we were in Vegas. We both were in Vegas together. It's hard for us to be apart from each other for too long. And so he worked at the news station on days, and he was like, hey bro, he was like, I've been looking at real estate, and I came across his brother Jay, and I think it's very dope, what he's doing. And I think it's something that we could possibly do. I like it. Why not? Let's try it, and he got into it first, and we went from there.
What's interesting is I saw Jay in LA. Usually when he's in LA, I try to go out there too. But what's interesting is I feel like I knew, because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad like you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I knew that I wanted to get into real estate, but I feel like once Jay Morrison started kind of making it real, that's not really what, like, then I started kind of digging into bigger pockets. Then I started digging into all these different resources, reading the books, because I don't know why it is, but like, it just locked in for me once I saw that. So like, as somebody, I watch all this stuff, listen to all this stuff. I've talked to a lot of people that are around him, and he's definitely changing the culture. I think it's super dope what he's doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, someone I definitely can relate to, I'm not a drug dealer or come from that past or anything like that, but, being African-American and then also coming into the real estate industry, it's not a lot of us inside of this industry, so I wanted change, and it made me look into history. I love doing research about who I am, first of all, and then that spills out into a whole other thing. But, just knowing where our people come from and the things that we had and we didn't have, that allowed me to say, hey, I think real estate will be the game changer, with me being able to be in control of my life first. And then my finances will come after that, with being able to be that cousin, like, hey, you need a little help? I got you.
Right. Yep. Dang, that's the last question, man. This is a good interview. I didn't want to, I feel like I need more questions on this sheet.
Well, I can say two other people who I'm inspired by are my parents. They helped me out a lot, as far as motivating, giving me different pointers, different views on things, from a life standpoint. Some things you're able to apply going into business with that. So my parents, I would definitely have to say I give kudos to them for at least, being there.
So did your parents go to Southern too?
No, my mom went to Central Michigan University, and my dad didn't go to. Well, he went to Central University in Ohio, the HBCU, but he didn't graduate.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Nice. I feel like HBCUs are super valuable, man. Almost everybody that I know that went to a HBCU is a very solid individual.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it helps ground you. And like I said, my parent, well, not my parents, but my grandparents, they actually didn't want us to go down to Louisiana because that's where both of them from. They left to come up here to Michigan to work in the shop. And so it was like, we don't want that for our kids or our grandkids because we know how the South is. My granddaddy moved up here because he was picking cotton. You know, he was like, I didn't want to do that. Like I wasn't making enough money either to support my family. So they really didn't want us to go down there to see that. But it also opened up so many different doors for us. You know, I learned a lot about my family. The culture of Louisiana in itself is totally different. And so it helped ground me most definitely and learn about exactly who I am. It helped me manage money too.
what do you mean?
I was broke.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Nice. So I think we covered everything. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to kind of share with the people?
I think we had a great interview as well. I do know one of the questions that was on there was how can people find more about me?
That was the last question. Yep.
Yeah. My name is Roeman Murphy. Facebook, that's what it'll be. If you're on Instagram, then it's Roe the Realtor. I go by Roe just for short because some people have a little hard time pronouncing my name. And then if they also see me out, they don't know who to call me, whether my name or my brother's name. So they just always say, "Hey, are you Roe or Dre?" So, but yeah, I'm here. If anyone's looking to invest in the Flint area, feel free to reach out to me. I always have things coming up on the table. Like earlier today, a guy, dad passed, unfortunately, but he left behind 3 rental properties. So, you know, that's something that we're able to pick up.
That's interesting. You always hear about people passing away. And you always think it's just their own home they live in. You never think about the rental properties that they own.
Oh, yes.
That's dope.
Yeah. And then the kids, they don't want them. And so it's like, what do I do with them? I didn't came across homes that I really have no ties to at all. I honestly don't even know what they look like. This was just something that I knew my dad had.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, they have no ties to them and literally just want to sell them and get them off and get them gone.
That's dope. Very cool, man. It was definitely great talking to you. We're invested in the same market, so I might have to hit you up when I'm out there in that area, which probably not going to be anytime soon because it's too cold out there. But after it heats up, I might be back out there. I can't handle Michigan and
oh
winter.
yes.
Man, I went to Michigan in like February, and I thought it was going to be cool. It was so cold.
Oh yes.
It didn't make no sense.
Yeah, January, February is definitely cold months. Yeah,
Man,
I'm still not used to it, but I'm kind of getting back in the routine of it.
Yeah, I guess you kind of get a system around it.
Yes, you have to. But on the days you know it's gonna snow bad, you just get your snow plow out, and you take care of your properties with your driveway. Or you have somebody else go do it, and you come back home and make a fire and chill out.
Yeah, we work out in the lease that the tenants have to do that.
Yes,
because I'm not flying out there, so we make sure we write into the lease. Tenant is responsible for the lawn and for snow removal. It's crazy what you can do with a lease clause.
Oh yes, especially here.
Yeah. Man, this has been a great episode. This is episode number 78. If you guys are interested in joining either of the investment clubs, either the one for stocks or one for real estate, 2019 is going to be a big year. I want you guys to be involved. You can email us at membership@capitaltodd.com. You can also email me directly at charles@capitaltodd.com. Website is www.capitaltodd.com. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire. Episode number 78, signing off. Nice. Let me stop this recording. That was dope, man. You guys are doing some cool stuff.
I appreciate it.